Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to what you could say are very unfamiliar surroundings. And welcome back to me talking about something that Celtic do best. And that's winning derby games that matter. Winning games that matter most. Winning big games. Games at Hampden against the opposition. No matter the circumstances. No matter if you've brought back a manager who's in his 70s that left Celtic 20 years ago on an emergency, a temporary appointment. No matter the circumstances, Celtic always seem to win the games that matter, the derbies that matter. And trust me, I know there will be a totally normal reaction to everything that happened at Hampden today. I'm sure that the post-match social media outrage is completely normal. It's inevitable. Celtic got the job done, and they always seem to do it. And I think that a lot's going to be made about Martin O'Neill coming in on Monday. I mean, who would have imagined we were here? This time last Sunday, we still had Brendan Rodgers in charge. And here, I'll be the first to hold my hands up. There were people that I know that are rushing to the comment section to tell me, Ryan, what would happen today if Brendan Rodgers was still in charge? Ryan, you were the one that wanted this game to go to Rodgers and maybe determine his fate and his future at Celtic Football Club. And yeah, I hold my hands up to that. And I said that might have been a decision that backfired. That might have been the wrong way to look at things. For me, this would have been make or break for Rodgers today. And maybe there is a chance that if Rodgers took charge today, we don't win that game. But it doesn't really matter. It's time to leave it all in the past now. What matters is that Martin O'Neill was in charge, Sean Maloney was helping, and we got the result today. We put ourselves through to the League Cup final. We give ourselves the best possible chance of lifting the first trophy of the season, and we could be on the step in the right direction towards, hopefully, another treble competing season like last year. So, you can say what you like about Rodgers. I'm not going to make it a match reaction about him because it shouldn't be about him. This is a time for us to enjoy watching a Martin O'Neill Celtic side beating Rangers at Hampden. We're probably never going to be able to say that ever again. We're lucky that we even got to say it this week. It's quite a marvel that I'm actually uttering those words. We have just watched Martin O'Neill's Celtic beat Rangers at Hampden, and albeit it might have been scrappy, albeit it might have been testing, and it might have had to go to extra time, and it might have been, at times, one that we doubted. But it was one that I think we will all cherish, and it's one that I'm honestly going to hold my hands up, no offence to ICW, because I love commentating for ICW, and I wouldn't have missed this show tonight, but I'm gutted I wasn't there to celebrate and to sing Martin O'Neill's name in the stands, so we can leave the narratives about maybe if Rodgers was still here. What matters is we've won. And I use that same sort of mantra and that same sort of thinking when it comes to, the chances that were missed today, with the red cards that were given out, with refereeing decisions. If, buts and maybes, it doesn't matter. What matters is absolutes. And Celtic are absolutely through to the League Cup final. Celtic are absolutely in with a chance of winning the first trophy of the season. And Celtic are absolutely back, baby, under Martin O'Neill. I've got no doubts in saying it. I have none. Even though we were getting into extra time and I was thinking, oh Christ, here we go, we're still shite. No, we're back. We're back with a bang. What an afternoon. And it's a crazy game to talk about. I don't want to spend too long doing a kind of raw post-match reaction from my car. As I told you, I'm on commentary duties tonight for ICW out here in Edinburgh. I saw the majority of the game. I had to listen to extra time via BBC Scotland on the way here through to Edinburgh. But I got to see the majority of it. And what a wild game to talk about from different perspectives. Like, as a neutral, probably watched that game today thinking, what a game. It had a bit of everything. It had a bit of ferocity. It had, of course, the goals. It had the tension. It had, at times, very poor quality. But it was an exciting game. But also, if you look at it from a different perspective, if you look at it from this one, it was probably a game that once again displayed the real lack of quality on either side of the derby right now. I think Celtic and Rangers still have two teams that, could have scored far more goals today, could have put on far more of a show, but didn't because we're still not there. And it's, on Celtic's side, I'll hold my hands up and say we are still looking to polish some players out. We are still dealing with some very raw young talents, the likes of Callum Osmond, the likes of Johnny Kenny, and we're Sebastian Tenectes and all these players in the world. But both sides, it could be very different if teams could just finish their chances. You look at what Chermiti missed for Rangers in the first half. That should be a goal. Any other player in the world has got to score that. But he's shite, so he missed. And Celtic missed a few sitters of their own. So there was a real good game of football there with a lot to be happy about, and from a neutral perspective, probably a cracking watch. But there was also a lot to be like, dearie me. It was just a really, really wild derby game, and it was a real throwback to the derbies at their best, but Celtic at their best of derbies. Because number one, we won, but number two, we were just so much better. And here's where the kind of the beef of the match reaction comes from for me. Like, that was a Celtic that I thought was going to take a while to get back in these derby games. I'm not going to lie, even with Martin O'Neill managing today, I thought that this squad of players were just missing something, and I thought that hunger in the derby games was maybe gone. And maybe that was down to me underestimating the power of what Martin O'Neill could do to bring back that hunger in the derby games. I don't know. But essentially, like, we look at the derby games all the way from the League Cup final, and just Celtic weren't intense. They didn't have intensity. They weren't fighting for second balls, for loose balls. They weren't creating enough chances. They weren't getting the ball up the park. All of it was missing. But all of it returned today. And that is the best derby performance I've seen from Celtic since, last August. Genuinely, last August when we played them at Celtic Park and we beat them 3-0 and we were magic and we pumped them on the day. That's the best since then. Well over a calendar year. The best derby performance. Just the way that we attacked the game, the way we relied on different ways to get up the park, and just the real standout was just how physical we were in the game and how often we were trying to go in and win the loose ball and win the second ball and tackle your man, bring your man down and just generally win. It's been missing from Celtic. It's really been missing. And that was brought back and restored to the team today. And that, for me, is a huge part. Streetlights have just come on. That was a huge part of the massive improvement we've seen of Celtic going into that game today. And don't get me wrong, it was far from a perfect performance. But sometimes in these derby games, what matters is the winning. It's actually, I say sometimes, it's not sometimes, all of the times, what matters is the winning. Getting through the rough parts of the game when your back's against the wall, and coming out the other end, the team with the more perseverance, with the more desire, and just ultimately those moments that separate you from the opposition. If you're the one that leaves the game taking the better of those moments, which Celtic done today, 9 times out of 10 you're going to win the derbies. And I know that the second half was a bit of a brutal watch, even though Rangers had 10 men. And I know that a lot of eyes might have been rolling when we seen it had to go to extra time and we gave away the penalty and whatever else. But this was a Celtic team that wholeheartedly deserved a win this afternoon, in my opinion. It was a real restoration of what Celtic should be playing like in derby games. It was just back to what it should be like, and I'm chuffed for that reason alone. There is so much that we could discuss and talk about in huge amounts of depth, but I'm going to try and run through things very, very quickly because I need to get inside. So don't worry, I will be talking about things more in depth on the channel tomorrow before I head off to Denmark for the Michelin game. First half, look, the difference it makes when you've got a Celtic team that are willing to attack the game in different ways is huge, because the first half, that opening 45 for me, was all about how we got up the park and how direct we were and how we could notice the weaknesses of Rangers and take advantage of them, because in derbies over the past calendar year, Celtic haven't taken advantages of the weaknesses Rangers have, because Rodgers and his team were just so strict on playing football a very certain way, it lacked imagination, and we wouldn't punish very poor Rangers teams. Got to remember that. The Rangers team we played today is probably significantly better than the one led by Barry Ferguson, the one led by Russell Martin, and the last one led by Philippe Clement. But we refused to take advantage of situations and of players' weaknesses because we were just so drilled into playing football a very specific way. And I love Rodgers, you all know that, but that was a huge criticism I did have of him, the way that we wouldn't change up for these derby games to take advantage of Rangers. But today we've done that, because you see those long diagonals. The boy Jigga, the centre half, he was hopeless. He was absolutely hopeless. Every time Trusty would send a ball over the top, Scales would send a ball over the top, or somebody would play a pass that would cut through him in his centre half position, he was fucking falling in his arse. He couldn't handle it. He was a nervous wreck. But if he was a nervous wreck today, and I hate to say it, and Rodgers was still in charge, I don't think we would have peppered him. I don't think we would have kept pressuring him with those types of situations. And that was always the shortcomings for the Celtic side in these past derbies. So to recognise that today and to attack the game in different ways in that first half in particular was a breath of fresh air. And I tell you what else was a breath of fresh air. I feel like I'm going off my nut here. I'm going to have no energy left for the commentary desk tonight. Scoring again from a corner kick. What? I mean, I know we scored from 2 corner kicks against Sturm Graz. But scoring from a corner kick against Rangers today, and what a perfectly worked one as well. Oh my goodness. Fantastic. Absolutely magnificent. Kenny's header, brilliant. I was really impressed with what I seen of Kenny today. Once again, still parts of his game to iron out. Still needs a lot of polishing. But that's 3 goals in 2 games since Martin O'Neill's come in. And if that's not a step in the right direction, I don't know what is. It's a great ball. Corner, great again from Arne Engels. We just looked so well oiled, I think, around the park. In the first half, there was only really a couple of negative performances for me, and I'm not even going to get drilled into them today because we should all just be positive and passionate and enjoying what we've done. But first half, we were just brilliant. And listen, people will talk about Rangers' chances, and people will talk about how we might have been lucky on a couple of them, you know, the Chermiti miss, and Schmeichel having to make a couple of big saves. But it's a derby. Rangers are going to have chances. Like, there's not going to be a derby game where they don't have chances. So it's all about, you know, scoring them. And they didn't score them. So Celtic took advantage. We have the lead going at half-time. Rangers go down to 10 men. It's a definite red card. And obviously flip that to the conversation about Austin Trusty. People will be talking about how he didn't get sent off in the first half. That's a real weird one. Stupid from Trusty in the moment. And must I just say very, very quickly, what a performance from the big man tonight, bar that, because he was fantastic. And once again, my Philly boy, go Birds, Austin, if you ever see this. I'm so chuffed to see him play well because I really wanted to work for him. I've been banging that drum since the minute we signed him. I said I was full of high hopes for him from the reading that I'd done about him in the MLS. I know it didn't really work out at Sheffield, but I really, really, really wanted to work in. That's 2 out of 2 good performances that's coming into the side under Martin O'Neill. So, brilliant from him. But that moment, it's going to be under heavy conversation, heavy dispute. I think he's really, really lucky that the force of how he goes into Butland is just so light. But it's strange because it's almost as if he sticks his feet back out after trying to pull it away, and you can tell he knows straight away that it's accidental and he didn't mean it, and he reaches out to, you know, make sure everything's okay and apologise or whatnot. Oh, and the big difference between him and the Asgard situation. Asgard goes in full force right into the hip of Ralston, cuts him open, bleeding. Of course it's going to be a red. Trusty is really, really lucky. I think it's force that dictates why it's a yellow rather than a red. But we see out the half, we're up 1-0. And we struggled against the 10 men, didn't we? And that's always a narrative about football games, about how life can get more difficult when you're playing against 10 men sides. And Rangers certainly tried that. And you also had to remember, they had to go for it. And I think that we struggled with that for big portions of the second half. But the annoying thing is, we could have put them to the sword. We could have. It was a few poor finishes away from Celtic scoring 2, 3, 4 in that second half. But similar, as I said, to Rangers, we didn't. So we gave them the opportunity to punish us. They punish us by getting a penalty. A very fucking weird penalty to get. Listen, dodgy calls all game up. I'm not going to make this video one where the narrative is dodgy calls, because there was dodgy calls on either side today. But the penalty's a weird one. But we're punished. We're punished for letting them stay in the game. We're punished for not taking our chances. And they send it to extra time. But just to kind of wrap things up, because I do need to get going, I said I'll do things more in depth. Extra time we handled brilliantly. And I know that's easy to do when you've got a man up and Rangers are tired. But you still have to go out and do your business. And we done it. We get 2 goals. McGregor with a fabulous strike. Butland. A fabulous strike. Osmond, who looked really, really sharp, getting his first goal, coming against Rangers. Could have been better in front of goal, Callum Osmond, but he was sharp. He was active in the game, and I didn't get to see a lot of it, but when I pulled over the car and I seen bits and bobs, looked sharp. And it's nice to see him get that chance and take that opportunity today. You handle your business, you get the win, you beat them in extra time, and you send everybody up the road happy. I'm certainly happy. Do I look happy? Do I look settled? No, brilliant. I mean, listen, to just shout out some of the players very quickly and performances that I was impressed by. I mean, you know Celtic must be playing well this season when Tenecti looks the worst out of the front 3. I thought he really struggled today, Tenecti. I think that it shows that his final product is still miles off it. He has been a shining light in what has been a very poor season for Celtic, but he's got a lot of work to do. And I'm not saying he was terrible today by any stretch, but I think he was the worst out of the front 3, or any combination of the front 3 that played today. And that speaks volumes about the improvements that we've seen. Kenny, really happy with the progress he's making. Maida looked better today, despite maybe having a couple of chances he could have taken. looked a lot better. Midfield just looked better in its function. Everybody looked as though they were pulling in the right direction and working well together for mass periods of the game. Defensively, Sriracha still making a case as to why he should be the starting left back. Scales and Trusty and Schmeichel, all brilliant. So listen, there's a lot more I could say, but I need to go. Come on, you Celtic. Martin O'Neill, thank you. Mark Fotheringham, Sean Maloney, everybody else, thank you for bringing in this period of stability that we probably needed, and this period of joy that we probably needed as well. Winners win, losers lose. It's been the story in Glasgow for a number of years, and it's going to keep going that way unless something changes. Hopefully, we make the right appointments and nothing changes in that regard. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll see you in the League Cup final, and I'll see you in the channel again tomorrow. Cheerio. Oh, yeah, bugger.